Oh, is Cameron going to be in the picture?
Clarissa is giving us the thumbs up signal.
Okay.
I think we are recording.
All right.
No, he's actually a really happy baby.
There he is.
Welcome to the March
Aw.
10th Salem Library Advisory Board meeting, everyone. There's Gretchen. Sarah, I don't know if Denise is here. Is Bill here?
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to call the meeting to order with my gavel. We're first going to look at the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Francine?
Yes, I actually printed out, emailed what I thought would be a better way under Catherine's discussion of the Willamette Heritage Center. So would you like me to read what my revision to that section is?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, Catherine Daniels presented another option for use of the lab funds. Willamette Heritage Center plans to update information on the history of Salem. This information was compiled by volunteers 20 years ago. It was previously available on the library website, but it is currently archived. An anonymous private donor contributed $10,000 through the Oregon Community Foundation, contingent upon raising an additional $10,000. The extensive materials are archived with the city and will be turned over to the Willamette Heritage Center. The city historic preservation officer is involved. Although there will be a link to the WHC History of Salem on the library website, no library staff will be involved. Catherine asked the lab to consider donating the $10,000 match to the Willamette Heritage Center. Sarah shared that Chris Rombaugh worked at the Oregon State Library during that time, and he is willing to come to our March meeting to provide further background. I would like to see that section substituted for the current section on this important initiative.
All right. Are there any objections to that addition? I don't hear any. So we will add that, Francine. Maybe you already did this, but could you email that to Clarissa?
I already have, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Friends, Catherine?
Yeah, I have a couple of suggested changes to the two sentences on page 2 that start with Lois shared that some of the lab's language, et cetera, et cetera. Right now it reads, Lois shared that, well, all of you have the agenda in front of you. So I want to suggest this, a few changes to it that are a little more specific, so that it would read, Lois shared that some of the lab's recommended policy language has been included in the draft Our Salem Comprehensive Plan. Lois was overjoyed with the inclusion of strong policy support for the library in the plan.
Anybody have an objection to that? It is a little more clear about exactly what
It's clear that it was a recommended policy and that it actually did end up in the draft plan, and that it asks for additional support for the library. So I think it makes those three things a little more clear.
Okay. Any objection to adding that? I guess if there is.
Clarissa, I can send that to you.
Okay, so I guess if there is an objection, you would vote no to whether to approve the minutes. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve.
Can we make sure that we say as amended into the record?
Yes.
As
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you move to approve the minutes as amended, and I need a second.
I'll second it.
Who was that?
That was Denise.
Denise,
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. All in favor, say aye or give a thumbs up.
Aye.
Okay, looks like we got it. All right, so we have approved and the minutes. Was there any public comment? Does anybody know, Clarissa? Do you know, Sarah?
I don't believe so. Clarissa is typing a message to me right now because it doesn't seem like she's her microphone is working right now. So she says no public comment.
Okay.
So there you
Okay.
go.
All right, so let's move on with our agenda. I would like to change the agenda. Let me know if there's any objections. I'd like to go to the Teen Advisory Board as it is listed. And then because we have some library staff, I'd like to jump down to them so they don't have to sit through our wonderful reports. Very exciting. So I'm thinking we would do the Salem History Project and then the books for kids and then the library strategic plan. And then we'll go up to reports. Everybody okay with that? Okay. All right. So teens, you are on.
I think I'm going first. My name is Evie. My pronouns are she, her. I'm in 7th grade at Howard Street Charter School. And many tab members have been working this month to make cheerful greeting cards for homebound patrons who are served by Operation Bookshelf. We've turned the first set of cards over to the Operation Bookshelf coordinator, and they will be going out with the bags of books over the next month. Some tab members have used their art skills to decorate the fronts of the cards and the insides of the cards with notes and other cheery messages and drawings. Some tab members brainstormed ideas for how to feel more connected while we continue to meet and work together virtually. Tomorrow night, we'll be adding a show and tell time to our monthly meetings and asking each other silly but very important questions in a speed interviewing game.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Montgomery, and I use she, her pronouns. I am currently a sophomore at West High School. We had a very successful experiment with our February teen program. We combined an art night and Among Us night into one using Zoom breakout rooms. In the main room, artists created and chatted, and others broke off to chat and play Among Us. Several people switched back and forth to get the best of both worlds. The 2 hours went by extremely quickly. Tomorrow is day 2 of a 3-day web design workshop for teens, planned and taught by Teen Advisory Board members Katie McManus, with help from Brinsley, Hammond, Brower, and Anna Hart. There are 3 2-hour-long sessions to teach the basics of HTML, ending with each student creating a simple web page by the end of the workshop.
Erin, I don't know if anybody else had this problem, but I couldn't really hear you.
Me neither.
Yeah, just checking, and I don't think anyone could quite hear you. It was like we could hear you a little bit, but not all the way. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but do you want to give it another try? Still can't hear you.
Very quiet. Evie, can you help? Your voice was a little bit louder. Can you share what she just
Yeah,
said?
I can say Erin's part if we need to.
Sorry, Erin.
We had a very successful experiment with our February teen program. We couldn't decide whether to have an art night or play Among Us, so we did both, using the magic of Zoom with breakout rooms. In the main room, artists created and chatted, and another big group broke off to create a server and chat while playing Among Us. A few people went back and forth and did a little of each. The 2 hours rushed by, and then the art continued until like 9 o'clock at night. Tomorrow is day 2 of a 3-day web design workshop for teens, planned and taught by TAB members Katie McManus, with help from Brinsley Hammond Brower and Samantha Hart as assistants. They are teaching 3 2-hour sessions that focus on the basics of HTML, with each student creating a simple web page by the end of the workshop.
All right, great. Thank you, Erin and Evie. 2 E names. Great. Any questions for our teen advisory board members? Okay, thank you so much. Sounds like you're doing some really exciting things, even though you can't meet in person, and keep doing it. All right, thank you. So now, as I said, we're gonna jump. Actually, I added the Salem History Project because I had sent that in to Clarissa, but it didn't get on the agenda. So I am adding that Salem History Project, and Christopher is here. And Christopher, you like Chris or Chris, or what do you want?
Christopher is preferred.
Christopher, I like Christopher. That's kind of like a neat, like.
I've had to carry it along for all these years, so I'll stick with it.
It's kind of dignified. I like it. So could you kind of give us a brief but wonderful talk about what the library did all these years ago with this project?
Yeah. So, and I think it was sort of prefaced that I was at the state library at the time. I was working doing the LSTA grants and the library statistics, Library Services and Technology Act grants. And that's what was applied for a temporary staff position and some hardware and presumably software. I don't have all of those details to work on that history project. Most of the content was provided by volunteers, using some of the library's resources, some, materials from our Humor collection and other places. And then it was basically, they were written up as articles. This is this is fairly early internet days. So this was kind of one of the first, at least for our region, online encyclopedias kind of thing. But it was particularly geared to Salem and our part of the valley. So it had a lot of agriculture stuff, a lot of stuff related to the Methodist missionaries, a lot of stuff related to the region's, farming and early settlers and that kind of thing. And then I think it ended, as I recall, it was a 2-year grant, and Monica Mersinger was hired to work on the project. She was the coordinator for the project, and I think it was applied for, but then I may have left the library or the state library by that time. And later on, I came back though as a contract employee and wrote the review, a grant, basically grant review and analysis of the project after it had happened. Nonetheless, that and I've got some dates, but I don't know all of them. What basically happened was this was on a city server. This was kind of at the point where everything that was done like this, kind of homegrown, wasn't in the cloud. It was actually at the city, So it was on city servers and city hardware, which slowly but surely failed and then had to be updated and then put to another server, et cetera. So the photo database, which is the one that's now currently rehosted with Content DM, which is an OCLC product, and it's up on the web now, and the history database, they resided on city servers. The city server that they were on was, I think, 15 years old, maybe, which is pretty incredible for computer technology that it would live that long. But anyway, it was starting to kind of go south, and the IT department had already said we don't want to keep this up any longer. So we had to get a solution for the photos, which we did, and that was from a grant that the city got through a historic preservation office from who was it? Oregon Heritage Commission, possibly. And that's kind of what's buffering and holding that along now. The library will still be responsible for paying the annual service and maintenance fee for the software as a service hosting site that it's on, Content DM. But the Historic Preservation Office in the city is doing work to kind of clean up the photo database and metadata and all that. The history website, on the other hand, was hand-coded HTML done 20 some years ago by Vlad, who is currently working in the IT department. It was when he was in high school. He did this, he coded this. So it's kind of a remarkable story. And he's one of the ones that said, please get this thing off, we need it off the server because the server's gonna die. And so it's all been canned, archived, backed up. I've got copies, the city, city IT has copies. But it is honestly in its current condition fraught with peril because it's got some, outdated racial language that really needs to come out of it. The photos are no longer of value. I believe what had happened is they did maybe reduce some of them for storage space reasons. And so we would have to then basically, well, not we, but anyone would have to pull photos from another source. It could be our photo database, but they would have to pull larger resolution photos. And then there is erroneous information and some of the citations aren't very good. So what it means to me is that, there is some content there that I think is interesting, but it certainly is going to be, would need help. And in the process of it kind of being taken down and mothballed, Historic Preservation Office came up with an idea and then I think started talking to Willamette Heritage. I was not in on any of that part. I just know that that's kind of, there's been a lot of back and forth with it. So the current status is it's not online, it's archived. That's probably good due to the language and other issues that need to be cleaned up. On the other hand, there is content and it's available and it could certainly be something that is handed off based on the terms that you were talking about. Did I get close to what you guys were looking for? I'm happy to answer specific questions if it's something that's in my purview or my knowledge base. So
I think that sounds good, Christopher. So basically, was it ever really used? And
so there was Google. We did Google Analytics on it probably 2 years ago now, 3 years ago, possibly, when we first started looking at what we're going to do with these products that were up. And essentially what was discovered was that the Google Analytics for the history site were almost all from native Google searches. They were not from links or from persistent things that were on the web. But if you search maraschino cherries and Salem, you may have gotten that as a Google hit and then found the article where it talks about the cherry city and them, brining these cherries and lie or whatever they did to them. And so that's how people were finding this stuff. When we did the same Google Analytics on the photo database, what we realized was quite quickly that many Oregon heritage institutions have hard-coded links on their webpage directly to photos and to the photo collection. And that includes the state archives, Bush, House and Garden. Who else is involved in that? There might be an Oregon Department of Transportation, that kind of thing. So that was kind of what we discovered. I don't now, that's now long enough ago that I would have to kind of troll around in the recesses of where we store those kind of files to figure out what the hit counts were for that time.
So I am not a tech person. Just basically, did it get used in your opinion? What did you mean by a native?
Okay,
search?
so when you do a Google search, Google is looking for all the web pages out there all the time, and it has the data that's on those pages and the words. And when you do a Google search, that's a native Google search. You're searching for terms or words close together or connected that then Google then reports to you what we found. So that was basically how people had been using it. I do remember that they had done Google Analytics this is the City of Salem IT department, had done Google Analytics on those pages for a number of years, or at least a year and some months, I don't recall. And what essentially they discovered was that the number of uses had declined over time. And my personal thinking on the matter is that this, as a resource, was probably, one of the first and very few when it came up. But by the time time had passed, you had Wikipedia, you had the Oregon Historical Society's Oregon Encyclopedia, I think that's what it's called, which was partnership with the universities and the Oregon Historical Society. And those sorts of things kind of superseded a lot of the content, and in my opinion. Now, is all of it reproduced? Not likely in these other sources, but I think that's probably why there was some decline in use.
Okay.
But it had been up for at least 20 years.
And I think one of the things that Christopher hit upon here is that where the photos were hard linked were really embedded as a resource and used as a resource by a variety of agencies, because these other resources exist, Wikipedia and the Oregon Encyclopedia, it doesn't sound like people were continuing to use the historic database in the same way anymore. And so the only way people were really reaching it was if their Google search hit the web crawlers that had gathered the right linking of terms. And so that's another reason why the use went down.
And it also makes sense in terms of the photo database, because when that grant was written for the photo database, that was initially just our photos, the Ben Maxwell collection, about 5,000 photos. Then we added partners, and there were other adjoining grants that were put out there to get the photos from the Bush House and the state archives, et cetera, into that collection. Well, when that happened, those people came on board as partners. And when they came on board as partners, they had links on their page that related back to their photos in the photo database. Where the history site, as soon as the grant was done, it was pretty much over. It was present and it stayed there as long as the server was operating, but it wasn't a partner. We weren't partnering with people other than the volunteers.
Okay. Anybody else have a question for Christopher? Okay, thanks, Christopher. I think that gave us a little more information, and just so people know, we asked Christopher, as was stated by Francine in the addition to the minutes, this is a possible place where we might want to make a donation if they get a partnership with Willamette Heritage Center, and they have somebody that can do some historical background and bring together a website. And I don't think it's something that we will be voting on tonight, because unless somebody brings it up as an item, but I think we need a little more information, and I think Christopher has provided us with a little more background. So
let me know if there's anything else that I can look up or try to provide related to it. I'd be very happy to. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Christopher. Go have fun.
Yeah, off to dinner. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Christopher.
Very, very happy to. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks so much. Okay, now we're going to the Books for Kids, the literature outreach, and Jessica's going to tell us about that. She works with that program. Hi, Jessica. Thank you for being here. Can't hear you.
You're muted, I think, Jessica.
Explain it. I turned
There
off.
you
I turned on my camera, but not my mute button.
Okay.
So sorry. Okay, so thanks, Lois and the Library Advisory Board for having me today. I'm very excited to be here and talk to you a little bit about our Books for Kids program. My name's Jessica Marie. I'm the Youth Services Senior Librarian with the Children's Area of the Salem Public Library. So basically, in light of the fact that schools and preschools were not able to reopen in the fall of 2020, our youth services staff needed to seek new solutions to form literacy partnerships with Salem community organizations. And our efforts were to support students, families, and educators. While the schools were closed, school libraries were unavailable. Even our library, although we were having curbside services, kids weren't able to come in and get their hands on books in the traditional way. So we implemented a literacy outreach using leftover materials that we had from our summer reading club. We had a lot of leftover summer reading prize bags. We had a lot of leftover books. So what we decided to do was compile these kits and call them Books for Kids. And then we were going to deliver them to community organizations who could be partners with us. These are organizations that already had in place vehicles for providing food and clothing and educational materials and other items to Salem area families. This outreach enables participating organizations to deliver these kits to these families at the same time, but also in a way that they can distribute them when it's convenient for them, when they're already distributing their other services, so it doesn't in any way disrupt their services. And the kits themselves are a backpack. It's basically a leftover summer reading club backpack that has the Salem Public Library logo on it and some beautiful artwork that was created by one of my colleagues in the Youth Services Department who is very artistic. Each bag has 2 or 3 paperback books. It has an activity booklet that I created that has library and literacy, like a little scavenger hunt to find things on the library's website online. And learn how to use some of the library's tools. It has coloring pages and a maze and word search and crossword and all these other things that are very library and literacy related. And then we started making these deliveries. So we would take orders from the organizations who were interested. They would tell us how many kits they wanted, what language they needed, because we had them in both English and Spanish, and what age groups they served. And they would fill out a form and give me an order, and then we would fulfill those orders. So while the program was going strong before the extreme risk category happened, we had it up and running in October and November, and we made about a delivery of approximately about 900 kits to 16 different facilities. And I have a little list here to share with you about some of the facilities that were receiving these kits. They included Northwest Housing Alternatives, Salem Free Clinics, Fostering Hope Initiative, a number of our local Boys and Girls Clubs, the Salem Kaiser Teen Parent Program, Family Building Blocks, Center for Hope and Safety, and several of our local Head Starts. And that program is still ongoing. We had to put it on freeze for a while we were in the extreme risk category because we couldn't get into our building to fulfill the kits or do the deliveries. But now that we have dropped from extreme risk back to high risk, we're hopefully going to be able to get this up and off the ground again. And we have, in addition to using leftover materials from Summer Reading Club, which we're using our Ready to Read funds, we also get Ready to Read funds that pay for early literacy. So we are able to use some Ready to Read funds to purchase more early literacy materials and make more preschool kits for, say, the Head Starts, the family building blocks, the Salem Kaiser Head Starts, and those. So that is an ongoing thing where we can continue to supplement the kits that we've already got and the materials that we've already got for filling these kits. But in addition to that,
What is Ready to Read, Jessica?
Ready to Read is an Oregon State grant that is provided to Oregon libraries every year. It funds 2 different initiatives. It funds the summer reading programs that all of the libraries do, and it provides funds for early literacy endeavors that libraries want to embark upon for ages 0 to 5 or 6, basically. So anytime early literacy is included, we're able to use funds to supplement. And in this case, a lot of the kits that we're giving are actually aimed at families who have preschoolers, babies, and toddlers. And so we were able to buy additional materials to actually fulfill those kits, in addition to the leftover summer reading materials. The other thing that we've done, which is very, very exciting, is we started, we already have an existing partnership with the Assistance League of Salem and Kaiser. This has been a partnership that we've had for over 34 years. Actually, I think it might be closer to 38 now. I lose track. It's a very long partnership with a wonderful established league here in Salem. And they provide a lot of outreach services. So they sponsor and help with volunteers for our bookmobile programs, both our winter read program that delivers books in the bookmobile to first graders, and then also our summer migrant education program. Since the schools weren't in session this year, we weren't really able to provide those programs. We weren't able to do summer read last year, and we weren't able to do winter read this year. So Assistance League met with me, and we put our minds together and started to think of other ways that we could provide supplemental services as a continued partnership between our 2 organizations. So one of the things that we've started to do is provide these Books for Kids kits to families that are receiving their Operation School Bell backpacks. So Assistance League gives backpacks with school supplies and clothing and things like that to families in need. So we partnered with them to purchase all the materials for Books for Kids kits to also provide with the Operation School Bell material, so that we've added that literacy component to their existing Operation School Bell giveaways. And the other thing is they got a special grant from Goodwill to do basically food and nutrition literacy. And so they decided to utilize the library for that as well. And they thought that they would include a literacy portion as well as a health literacy portion. So we partnered to do that as well, to make Books for Kids available to all of those that are receiving that, that special program. And then the other thing we're going to do is this summer, instead of summer read, we're not going to be equipped to actually take out the bookmobile to the schools this summer. As you can imagine, fitting entire classrooms of kids on a bus isn't exactly the ideal thing to do during COVID. And plus, we are going to actually be moving our facility back to our main facility. So what we think we're going to do is provide the Books for Kids model for all of the students that are participating in Summer Reading Club, or not Summer Reading Club, in summer education. So what we're going to do is bring the Summer Reading Club to the schools, but in the form of these Books for Kids backpacks. So they'll get a backpack with the books, but also all the materials to participate in the Summer Reading Club. So that'll be another way that we'll be able to actually deliver the Summer Reading Club to them, even though we won't be bringing them the bookmobile. We will actually be bringing them these backpacks filled with books and a backpack, all the things that they would normally get as end of summer prizes. They'll just get them right up front, along with the actual Summer Reading Club and instructions for how to participate. And the other thing that we're doing is another one of our community organizations is Mano a Mano. They are a very important, integral part of the Spanish-speaking community in Marion and Polk counties. And they did a request for our Books for Kids kits. They primarily need preschool kits for English and Spanish. And so what we're doing is we're combining our Books for Kids with an existing other program that we have for preschoolers called Discovery to Go. In this case, we're bringing the Spanish version to them called Descubrir en el Lugar. And what that entails is there will be an additional book in there. Everybody's getting that same book, but that book is also going to have related activities that they can do that are hands-on. The Discovery to Go program usually involves either an art activity or a science-based activity. And so this particular one that we're doing right now for Mano a Mano has a bilingual title called Tortillas Are Round. It's all about shapes. And we have a shapes activity in the kit that's going to go out. And this also includes instructions for how to share the story with families, so that the families have some instruction for how to share the story and also how to do the activity. And then there's also a video component. So in the kit, they'll have a link to a YouTube video that one of our staff members has done in Spanish, leading that story, and then also showing how to complete the activities. So I'm very proud of this Books for Kids program. I'm really excited that we're able to continue to do it on an ongoing basis. We're just now getting back up off the ground and getting it going again. So
Great. Thank you, Jessica.
You're very welcome.
Are there questions for Jessica? Francine?
So I think this topic came up because we were interested in what we were going to do with some monies that we have in our for the Library Advisory Board
Right.
to use. So what can you give us some idea of what need you see, or both in terms of dollars and also sustainability of of the initiatives in
Right.
the future?
At this point, we're pretty much at capacity. As I said, we did get additional funds. One of the funds I actually left out was the foundation actually gave us a Sprinkles grant for some additional materials, which enabled me to purchase more Spanish language materials, which is one of the things that we're almost always short of. We never seem to have enough Spanish materials. We have lots and lots of books left over in English that we were able to buy with all of these different grants. We still have quite a few backpacks and a lot of supplies left over. So basically, I would say we are at capacity for fulfilling our Books for Kids requests. And we don't really have that big of a need for additional resources for that particular program at this time. I think we're doing as much as we can do. What we really need is staff time.
Yeah. Gretchen, did you have a question?
Not a question. It was just exciting for me to listen to her.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Really, really exciting.
We're very excited about this program. We've done some, library workshops and stuff to hear what other libraries are doing throughout the country, during COVID. And this one seemed to be a really good model that fit our community. And, we had the resources to make it happen. And so I think it's been a really successful program. I've heard some really lovely feedback from a couple of organizations, as well as one or two people in the community who actually received the backpacks. So I think it's being very well received, and I'm glad that we at least have this opportunity to get books into the kids' hands.
I'm very familiar with what the Assistance League does with the backpacks.
Yes.
And so I'm really happy to see that partnership.
Well, and the other thing is Assistance League is so incredibly enthusiastic about this. They just had the opportunity because they also put in volunteer time for stuffing the backpacks that they're going to be using for Operation School Bell and the health literacy initiatives. They were so excited and so exuberant to get their hands back on all these materials, to see all these things, to put these things in the kit. We actually, one of the same artist that does our summer reading backpacks actually made some special art related to the READ program through Assistance League. And so we have a special piece of artwork that we put on those backpacks that talks about READ, that has our little logo, and they were very excited. And now they're like, what else can we do for you? So I'm challenged to keep them busy too.
Great.
Yeah. Makes me happy.
Yeah, it's great. What about other languages? I know Sarah Bishop is interested in Russian speaking families. Do we have Russian books or?
We don't right now, but we also don't have a very high demand for that in Salem anymore. I think at one point we did, some years back, I think even before I actually started at Salem Public Library, but we have had very little demand for Russian books. In fact, we used to have a picture book collection on the bookmobile that was exclusively Russian language materials. And they were very desirable because they were very colorful and beautiful, but the kids all wanted them even though they didn't understand them. And so I kind of tucked them away so they couldn't see them. And I only left them available if they asked. And I went years without getting asked. So basically we have not put any resources towards Russian materials just because it doesn't seem that the demand is there at the moment. That could change, but at the moment it doesn't seem like that's there.
How about Arabic?
None. It really, the only thing I really get a huge demand for at the moment is Spanish. And that is growing. And that's a challenge that we constantly have because the publishing for children's books in Spanish is not keeping up with demand, I think, especially the demand of libraries. We have a big demand for Spanish language materials, and we're hard pressed a lot of times to get our hands on those. So, but that is primarily the language we're working in right now. We really have not had demand from other families from other languages. If we got them, we definitely would keep that in mind and try to serve that need.
And I also think it's Swahili because of the refugees that we have coming in town.
Yeah, that could come along, but at the moment, yeah, we haven't really had a demand for that.
Okay, thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Lab does have funds available. So if you ever get to a place where you feel like, maybe some extra money might help reach a new group or something, please let us know. And
definitely. Well, we have a lot of outreach initiatives that we're wanting to pursue. I think we have a lot of kind of ideas rattling around in the backs of our heads. And really, it's just a matter of logistics on implementing these ideas. So as other things arise, I definitely would, be in touch with our leadership team, and I'm sure they'll be in touch with you as well.
Okay, great. Thanks for coming to talk to us and keep up the great work. It sounds really exciting. I love it.
Thank you. And thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome.
Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Library strategic plan. Well, actually, let's go back up to reports. Is that okay? Okay. So we had teen advisory board chairs report. I just wanted to report that the 3-hour free parking thing passed unanimously in the city council. So we will have 3 hours of free parking when the parkade opens again, and 5 seconds for a happy dance. Just me.
Hey,
Yes,
Lois.
thanks, Denise. So
Yay.
this is really exciting. And I was telling Catherine today that this has been something I've worked on since I came on Lab. I mean, not just me, but the only thing that anybody's ever said to me when I say I'm a Lab, on the library board, they go, "Can you do anything about the parking?" So I thought, this is what I'm going to do, or we're going to do. So we did it. So I'm very proud of everybody's input. Denise wrote a really great letter to the city council, and Catherine wrote a last minute letter because I was going to testify at the city council and I was really looking forward to it. And then that was during the power outage, and our Zoom was all messed up and our internet and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she got something in at the last minute. So that we did it. So also, we would like to, I would like to have more information about how the city budget works. And I really don't want to have the library budget dinged in any way because of the free parking. So Sarah sent out a survey today, I think it was an email, and you can give input about if you want information about the budget process or what information you want. But I think as advocates for the library, we need, my opinion, we need to step up and get involved in the budget and advocate for some of the things we think would make the library better. That's all my report. Sarah, does anybody have any questions? Sorry.
No, just kudos for you, because I remember my first meeting with Lab and you brought that up and you stuck with it. So
Yeah, we did a lot of good work. We did a lot of groundwork with the city council, and I think that paid off. And Francine helped with that. Catherine helped with that. So thanks, Gretchen. Okay, Sarah.
So not to rain on Lois's parade at all, but there is actually a final piece to the parking that has to go through city council. We have to actually adopt the policy. And so that is going to city council. I just started the approval process for that to go through all of the people in the city that it needs to go through. And it'll be going to city council on March 22nd. So, so I don't foresee any issues. They've already indicated support for the 3 hours, but just as a fine print sort of thing, that is the last piece that has to happen before it is officially on the books. But we also, so you know, the meters are being removed now anyway, and kiosk technology will be installed as well. We're working on that. We've been doing tours with some of, and you guys all have been invited for tours as well. And I saw Gretchen, Sarah, and Catherine yesterday at one of the tours with some of the foundation members and some city councilors. And so I very much look forward to walking through the new space with all of you when you get a chance to sign up for that. And the front entryway is being demoed and being reconfigured right now, thanks to the foundation support. We also, one of the things I would like to make sure, and we've talked a lot about the library advisory board and what it might support. And, you know, we talked about the 3 priorities, like the way that the guidelines for the lab funds work, and that's giving priority to fund projects that promote and align with the strategic plan goals, priority to projects of library partner organizations, including the foundation and the Friends, and innovative and expansive programs at the Salem Public Library are the 3 guidelines that you guys came up with. They're great guidelines. And I want to talk to the foundation, lab, and Friends about how we best align all of our outside support board funding to get the farthest reach that we possibly can with that funding. So we are going to be meeting Catherine, Lois, Kate and Gina from the foundation, and Jeannie and Carol from the Friends will all be meeting I think tomorrow, actually. I've got to send you guys the Zoom link for that meeting. And that will be a good conversation to talk about what priorities everybody has. And you know, you heard Jessica say we have lots of outreach initiatives and things like that. So just kind of talking about some of the things that we see coming up in the future and where funds could help the most, and having everybody kind of align what parts they want to take on. So thank you, Catherine and Lois for participating in that, and I look forward to that discussion. It should be a really good discussion. And the other thing is that we finished the first round for the deputy city librarian interviews, and I've got to get HR all of the scores and tabulations and start setting up for the second round, which will be our final round. We'll only have a 2-round process for the deputy city librarian position. So hopefully by the next time we meet, we'll have a candidate who has accepted the job and is either already in place or getting ready to be in place. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And there are lots of other things, and my cat wants to really be in the picture here. Sorry, that is the downside of working from home, is the animals want to get in on the game. But are there any questions about anything that I put in the written report or anything I just talked about there?
Francine?
So I have a couple of questions. One is that since Gretchen is the lab's representative to the library, the foundation, I wondered why she wouldn't be included in this meeting tomorrow. That's just a question I have. The second thing is, since the devil is often in the detail, I wanted to know if there's any risk when with the implementation of the 3 hours free parking, that the hourly rate would be accelerated from the current 75 cents an hour to $1.50, which is the kiosks for downtown, for other areas in the city. So I would say that we as a group want to, think about that.
It was already actually written into the report that it would stay at 75 cents an hour. And I haven't heard any from anywhere else in the city, and it wasn't discussed at the city council meeting that the rate would go up.
Good. Okay.
So, and
Francine, in terms of my going, Sarah is always at the meetings, foundations meetings.
But aren't you the liaison between?
I am.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's sort of like throwing 2 people in.
yeah,
Yeah.
this was more of a board leadership meeting. Not that Gretchen isn't a leader on the board, but more of the chair, vice chair, kind of thing. That was where my head was at, and trying to just keep it to some more high level thinking about, and obviously we'll be bringing it back, and Gretchen will have a role to play in the continuing communication as we move forward with what we kind of come up with there. But yes, and I'm sorry, it didn't actually occur to me because it was kind of at the chair and vice chair level.
All right, thank you.
And I would concur with that.
Thank you, Gretchen. Yeah, and good question, Francine. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sarah, I have a question. So would it be possible for lab members to actually see a written copy of how the resolution will actually look? So that's going to be voted on, because is that going to be different?
No. There will be a proclamation that's included in it that really uses the discussion at City Council as the basis for the proclamation. And then the resolution is really just what it's basically exactly what we've already talked about, and just, it even actually includes the previous staff report in it, and points to just the same policy that they already voted on, bringing us the resolution to them. And it's really very, very basic, just to say, this is what you ask us to do and we're doing it, basically.
So around the like the day before or something before that meeting, we will be able to see the resolution.
You'll be able to see the resolution as soon as it gets published to the agenda. Yeah.
Okay.
So as soon as the sorry, that was my misunderstanding, but once the agenda gets posted, which is why approval week is this week for a meeting in later in March 22nd. So had to get it all into our system for the publication of that.
Okay. All right. Francine, were you thinking that perhaps we needed to contact the council or anything to make sure that that resolution goes through, or what was your thought?
No, I just wanted to be sure that we had the hourly rate beyond the 3 hours, like either on our radar or whether it's been resolved or whatever, because, I mean, it's true that I think the majority of people aren't going to stay beyond 3 hours. And I also know that if people are just coming in to get books that they have on reserve, they're not going to say, oh, I can sit here for 3 hours just to take up a parking spot. I mean, people are still going to live the way they live. But for my book club, I never meet at my house. I've always met when it's my turn at the library. And I've always warned people, bring, bajillion quarters, on a Saturday when we have our meeting. So I'm thrilled that I was thrilled to tell them at our last book club that they won't need to be collecting their quarters.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
There were a few stipulations, Francine, that you had, that we wanted to make sure were included, and that you guys had wanted to make sure were included, like the evenings, Sundays,
right,
and the hourly rate remaining the same. And in fact, it actually came up because I mistakenly and just forgot that it was 75 cents and had initially put in the staff report $1.50.
Right.
And then everybody was like, wait, when did we raise that? And I was like, oh, right. We didn't. It's 75 cents. I'm wrong, and had to go back and change it at that point, actually, because I had made a mistake on that.
Right.
So
I remember.
So
that.
it is in at 75 cents.
Okay.
Okay. So we're not going to get any surprises about the resolution or anything, correct? Okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, so let's go on to Carol. Do you want to give a friends report? Are you still with us?
I'm still there.
Okay.
Or here or wherever it is I am. I don't really have anything to report. I'm looking forward to the meeting tomorrow. And other than that, things continue as they have. So not really any news from our neck of the woods right now. Any
Okay.
questions?
Yeah, well, I will be interested. So Carol, you're going to be at the meeting tomorrow?
I will be, yes.
Okay. So yeah, that'll be nice to hear what. Does the Friends have guidelines about how they spend money? Well, we can talk about that tomorrow. Never mind.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Gretchen, do you have a foundation report?
Nothing really new. We've been working on, finishing up with the, continuing with the Salem raids. And it's been successful in terms of participation. And I'm on the art committee with Eric West, which is fun. And going on the tour yesterday was super. Giving both Kate and I an idea of what's really happening in the library.
Nice.
But unless Sarah can think of something from our last meeting, we really were focusing on Salem Reads and fundraising.
Well, I know, yeah, fundraising has been big, and staff are finishing up their Sprinkles grant applications for this round, and those are due Monday evening. So Monday the 15th in the evening. So they're very excitedly writing their Sprinkles grant application. So thank you, Foundation, for that.
And For people who don't know, Sprinkles grants are grants that the library staff makes to the foundation for just something kind of new. I mean, nothing that's like, $50,000 or anything, but little ideas that might need some support. And they're really kind of cool things. I can't think of any of them right now. I only know because I was on the foundation as a liaison.
Jessica just mentioned when she was speaking about their use of the Sprinkles grant.
Yeah.
For Spanish books, so.
Yeah. Sprinkles grants have also funded our Animal Crossing program. That library island that we have in Animal Crossing, it's funded Sonia's Wayback Machine thing for teens where, and it's done lots of other really cool stuff, and we'll continue to do cool stuff because it's such a great, it's the sprinkles on top of the library cake is kind of where then they got the name, and it really is. It's some of the things we just couldn't do or would be scary to try and fund ourselves, but for them to be able to fund it really helps.
That's neat. Okay, we're to our last item, the library strategic plan, and I put this on the agenda because I kind of wanted to see where we are with this and what's going on. And so this is a Sarah question.
Okay. So I have been meeting with Coraggio group, and I am, last week we were at the first two meetings. Clarissa was there with me. We got into sort of the in-depth of what their process looks like. So right now we're in the get clear phase. And so it's basically figuring out the understanding of the community that we're in, who the stakeholders are, who the library users are, using all of the data that we already have through state reports and Orange Boy, and then also gathering more data from, we're working on configuring some focus groups and some one-on-one interviews as well. So that's kind of the get clear phase, is all of the information gathering, and that will be a pretty hefty chunk of this, is gathering and synthesizing a lot of stories, data, and other information. So you guys will be integral into that process as well. And the steering committee that will be forming will also be integral into that. And the steering committee will have other members from various boards and commissions throughout the city, and also our support boards and teen advisory board. And so I am still in the process, and this is my own, I feel like the deputy city librarian interview process has been kind of taking over all of my time, so I haven't focused as much on this as I would like, but I am in the process now that we're past round one, where I can actually start focusing more on this again. So I am working on getting that. I will be getting that steering committee actually set up with the first meeting, so we can start actually talking about who will be in the focus groups, what that will look like, and all of those different kinds of, the decision points that the steering committee will be involved in making. Also there will be a city council member on the steering committee as well. So there is, and that will probably require, I'm still waiting for some input on how that will be determined in the end, if the mayor needs to make an appointment or what happens there. So that is kind of where we're at with it. I have a meeting with Coraggio group coming up again soon. There is a Sarah, Coraggio Sarah, who I am working with.
Oh boy, another Sarah.
I know, and she spells her name the right way. We are meeting on a pretty regular basis to make sure that we have the information that Coraggio needs, and that they are kind of guiding us and steering us in the right direction as well. And then once we are done with that, there's the get focused phase, which will be the phase in which we really boil all of that information into what our mission, vision, and values are, and what our strategic initiatives will be, and start putting some, measurable SMART goals. Sorry, cat again, into the works there. She is now tangled in cord. Sorry. Okay, so that is the get focused phase, where we're really actually building the strategic plan itself, and what that will include, and what our new mission, vision, and values will be if we update them. We have mission, vision, and values from 2013 that we have been using, but if we need to update them, that will be another thing for the steering committee to focus on. Another piece of this is the inclusion of an equity lens. That's something we've been talking about with them, and that will be something that the steering committee helps work with as well, and helps determine what that equity lens will look like. So,
what is that equity lens?
So it's kind of hard to describe, but it's basically looking at all of the library services through various kinds of equities that exist. ADA is a kind of equity, making sure that we have collections that represent a wide variety of authors and also are very representative of our community is a kind of equity. So making sure that we have sort of those filters of focus and looking at our work through those lenses, and something to also look at our policies through as well. So there's that piece, and then the last piece for them is they actually, and this is one of the reasons why I really like Coraggio, is they are going to help us implement the plan. So they actually will be spending some time with us, about a month, not just handing us a deliverable, here is your plan, go have fun with it, but they'll actually be talking us through how to get going with it. So, and working with us to make sure that we're set up for success with the actual implementation of the plan, which is very exciting because a lot of organizations have strategic plans that sit on a shelf and don't actually ever do anything. So I don't want us to be one of those organizations. I want us to really be using this to guide our work. So that is really exciting.
Catherine?
Does our new consultant have a background and experience working with libraries?
They do actually have library experience. They are not primarily a library focused strategic planning group, but they have worked with libraries in the past. So they do have the library experience.
Just one other question. I know that the city's climate change task force, which is also preparing a strategic plan, is going to be putting its meetings up on YouTube. And I wondered wondered if that's something that we could do too, so that we can all see, listen to the meetings.
I think that would be something for Coraggio and the steering committee to determine at their first meeting. I don't know what the feeling of the entire group would be for that. I'm not opposed to that. I just don't know what everybody would want to do with that. But that's a good question and a good thought for sure. So I don't want to be the one to make that determination, but I think that's a good suggestion to bring to the steering committee group.
Is the strategic plan aspirational?
I guess I don't really know what you mean by that.
Well, is this like the Salem comprehensive plan, where we say sort of like, and maybe the Salem comprehensive plan didn't do this, but like, this is our vision for what you know, in the best of all worlds, this would be what we would want our library to be? Or is this like, you know, given all the parameters and funding and all this kind of stuff, this is the plan? Does that make sense?
Yes, and I would say it's much more of the latter. It is really us trying to figure out what it is that the community really wants to see and what they need from the library, and then how do we get to that to deliver those services, and how do we then evaluate the efficacy of those services and continue to evolve the services that we have been providing to make sure that they are continuing to meet the needs and are meeting the goals that we initially set out to do. So there is always an evaluation piece that should be tied into the goal part of the strategic plan as well. So for me, if it were to say that we are going to have, you know, X number of branches open by X date, and we don't reach that goal, that's a failure on our evaluation. And failure is not bad, but I want to make sure that we are making those goals things that that we know that we can, if we align our resources and that we do have in the right way, we can make sure that we actually achieve those goals. So that's why. So that's where I think some of the aspirational piece might be explore services throughout the city, and then the goal would be, you know, have X number of outreaches in various places, or set up a kiosk in a place or something like that, rather than some of the more aspirational things that I think the board would like to see in terms of, you know, service locations and things like that. Does that make sense? You look confused, Lois.
What?
You
No,
look
I'm hoping that Coraggio will help us hone in on. I mean, I kind of think where do we get? Okay, people want to go home. I will have a conversation with you. We don't have to go home. We're home, but they want to go on with their life. Catherine?
Yeah, let me just add, because I was going to say it later, but I think it pertains to this. Coraggio should be guided in large part by the comprehensive plans, our vision that the city's developing, and in which we have a strong library policy in there. And just recently, on March 8th, the City Council also approved the city's more specific strategic plan, which is also a guiding document for the library. And Lois and I were successful in helping to get a policy in there that's actually more of an implementing direction. It's under the heading of year 1 activity, and it is direction to the library. And I'll read you what it says. It says, finalize the library's strategic plan and begin implementing year 1 activities related to enhancing access to library resources. This plan will address opportunities to extend services to underserved areas, which may include additional branch libraries or other extension options. So it's not, it doesn't provide an end point for where the library should end up, but it simply says that the library will examine these options as part of the strategic planning process.
Right.
So we're pleased that this this direction is in the city's 5-year strategic plan. It's a follow through from the broader Our Salem visionary plan. And of course, the library strategic plan will then be a yet more specific plan that kind of fits in. It's like those Russian dolls, you know.
Nesting dolls, yeah.
It's by the other, each consistent with the other, but each more specific as they come down to the library level.
Yeah, and that's not to say, yeah, I'm not trying to imply that there would be no work in expanding services out. You know, obviously that is something that is important in both our Salem vision plan and the city strategic plan. I'm just saying where we get to with it may be not as expansive as I might like, let's put it that way, or as I think Lab might like, in terms of having full service branches everywhere in the city that we possibly can. I know that is one of the things we would like to see, but this is the first 3 to 5 year step towards exploring what we can do. So,
Right.
Just the last thing, one of my powers as the chair of the library advisory board is to appoint committees. So I've been thinking I would like to have a subcommittee of lab members that will work on what lab would like to see in the strategic plan, so that when I, as a representative of lab, am on the steering committee, I can sort of say, like, this is what lab would like, or this is where our thoughts are. So I will send out an email soon and ask people to be on this subcommittee. And I hope you will open your hearts and your minds. And it would be a short-term committee. It wouldn't be something that would go on for years and years. And you might be able to shape the future a little bit. So sign up when I send you the email. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Catherine.
Did you want to touch on Literacy to Go donation, or is that the same as Books for Kids?
That's the same as Books for Kids.
Okay.
So yeah, actually that was, I didn't even put that on, so somebody else, I don't know, that was a mistake. Anything else? Oh, I wanted to thank Denise. Denise is doing vaccinations. She's volunteering to do vaccinations, and we love her, and we love vaccinations. Yay, Denise. Where did you go somewhere today? Okay.
Sorry about that. No, we went to Turner, my husband and I, and we did a whole bunch of testing.
Oh,
and that's a very important component too. We'll go again this weekend and start doing a bunch of vaccinations, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Everybody wants that shot. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
All right. Thanks, Denise. Okay. We're done. So have a good week, month, year. Be kind. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.